answered that, didn't I, by talking about sex and relationship education, which I think is an important prevention. I think that one of the things which has led to a small reduction in domestic violence is police officers getting much more aware and better trained about how to deal with domestic violence issues. In the old days, they used to say, oh, it's just a domestic, as though being beaten up by a man you love was somehow not as serious as being beaten up by someone who you don't know. And I think the opposite is true, personally. But the police are now much more aware of it, and the prosecutions are also much more robust than they used to be. There are well-trained prosecutors who specifically specialise in domestic violence cases, and there are IDVAs and ISVAs, which I was talking about, which are the advocates who support women through this process, and that means that there are more successful prosecutions. I think that the additional changes that the government needs to make are making more victims aware that they can get a go order to get the perpetrator out of the home. I think that more refuge places for people who need to run and find somewhere safe to be. Now, they've declined enormously because of the cuts to local government. And I really do think that preventing, at the heart of preventing, is educating young people about what is a loving relationship, what is respect for your partner, how to behave in the home. And I think that could make an enormous difference. And what we have to do is just really make sure that we don't slide into things like, oh, in this relationships education there is going to be a reference to same-sex relationships, so I'm going to try and keep my child out of it. We actually need to stop that kind of thing, because if we can make sure that children are taught about how to negotiate sexual relationships, because I certainly wasn't taught, and I imagine most of the people in this room weren't taught. Actually, you know, in some Scandinavian countries, they put quite a lot of time into teaching girls how to say no to sex, because it's quite hard when you're young, saying no, when you don't really feel like it. And I think that we should really put thoughtful, clever educators in charge of that, and I think it would make more difference than almost anything else.